Okay, y'all, I'm going to just tell you, apropos of nothing, and admittedly with no insider clues or anything to go on as far as insider knowledge, because I have none, because I'm not an insider, but just my hunch about what happened, what made the Trump administration decide to just not only kick the can down the road with the Epstein stuff, not only be kind of mealy mouthed about it and say and talk about doing something but then not do anything. Not only that, but actually do what's been perceived as a betrayal, which is to just say nothing. There's nothing to this case. There's nothing to this case. Epstein had no. He wasn't blackmailing anyone. He was a bad guy, but it was just him all by himself. He wasn't. He didn't have any high-priced clients that he was getting to do, that he was pimping little girls off to, and to just actually go that far, and to actually say, as Kash Patel actually said in a tweet, that the conspiracy theories have always been wrong. To actually say your conspiracy to put themselves on the side of the, oh, you conspiracy theorists, you're so tiresome. We need to move on from your crazy conspiracy theories. And that's the thing that really incensed people. I think that if they had just said, we think that Epstein killed himself and here's why, and they left it at that, and they'd said, oh, but we still think there's he obviously had some high priced connections and involved in our government and perhaps other governments, and we're going to look into that. Just give us time. We're going to do it. Don't worry, we're doing it. And then just kick the can down the road, which is what I think they would have done, what they would have preferred to do. Because, I mean, they must have realized that doing what they did incensed their base, turned their base against them, and I just don't see them being so dense as to think otherwise. I really don't. Now maybe Trump himself is dense on this front, because he's gone off, he's run off the mouth a couple of times, like, why are we still talking about Epstein? There's all this other stuff going on. We need to move on from Epstein. It's over. So maybe he was dense. Maybe he's dense on this front. But I don't know. Here's what I think happened. Okay, here's my theory about what happened. Again, my expectations have not been crushed like perhaps some people's have. Maybe some people who are watching this video have, because I never really believed that much in that Trump was going to do anything, and that anything significant. But again, I didn't see it quite going in this direction, where they would just slam the door on this case and claim, in spite of mountains of evidence that everybody can see, everybody with access to the internet can see, that this guy had a lot of friends in high places, and there's plenty of testimony to the effect of that he was pimping out these underage girls to lots of people in the high placed people in government, and industry and otherwise. But here's what I think happened. Okay, so I think that the push that the uniparty establishment push, the neocon neoliberal establishment, the neocon neoliberal establishment alliance push against Trump. I think their efforts to destroy Trump were real. I think they actually, because there's just too much evidence of it. We see them doing it in so many ways, trying to impeach him, twice, including once after he was already had already lost, was already leaving office, but they still tried to impeach him again. It was just it's pretty unbelievable. One of those things. But and then afterwards, after he left the White House in the interim, the 4 intervening years, the lawfare that they used to try to get him thrown in prison, or to try to hang the convicted felon label over his head, so that would that would hurt his chances of becoming president again, or maybe they hoped that they would send him to jail, and then he couldn't run for president because he'd be in jail. But when that didn't happen, then they actually, I believe, the establishment, the fix was in, the evidence is there. They tried to take him out. The assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania was a real assassination attempt. And the assassination attempt with where that guy followed him to his golf course in Mar-a-Lago and had a gun, and this was a guy who was some kind of operative with the Ukraine for the Ukraine cause. Both of those, I think, were efforts to get Trump murdered. I think those were real. I don't think that when they shot at him in Butler, Pennsylvania, I don't think that was just a deal where the establishment really wanted to help Trump, and so they either got the people the assassins to miss him intentionally, or it was all fake. I just, which is what some people, including some conspiracy people, actually think. I can't say definitively that that's wrong, but I just find it unlikely. I find it much more likely because it follows, it follows the trend of what we saw happening with the establishment types in high places, that they wanted him gone, and they couldn't get rid of him by impeachment. They couldn't get rid of him by lawfare, so now they were actually going to shoot at him. He was supposed to die. He was supposed to die on that day. Oh gosh, I guess it's almost exactly a year ago, isn't it? Was it today? I didn't realize it until now. Wasn't it July 12th or 13th? So he was meant to die on that day, but he didn't. And I think afterwards, he decided to make a deal, because he's a deal maker. It's all about the art of the deal, right? That's Trump's byline. That was the name of his book that he published in the 80s. That maybe was ghostwritten, probably was ghostwritten, but anyway, it's true as far as that's who he's all. That's the embodiment of who he is. He's all about making deals, and he knows. I think he knew that he was swimming with sharks, and I think he's enough of a shark himself, to be able to operate. That's why he's still around. That's why he's still alive. So he saw that they wanted to take him out, and maybe it got just too darn real after the thing in Pennsylvania, and he said, "Okay, you guys, let's make a deal. What can I give you in exchange for y'all letting me at least get a shot at the presidency?" You know, maybe his whole thing was, I think we can win if you don't interfere with the election again. You know, if you call off your operatives trying to steal the election again like you did in 2020, I think I can win. So what can I do? What can I give y'all for y'all to give me a fair shot at winning the presidency again? And they probably said something to him like, well, you gotta stop pursuing this Epstein thing. Now, I don't think Trump has ever been enthusiastic about pursuing the Epstein thing. You know, he obviously has some complicity there. There's, you know, we've all seen the videos of him and Epstein hanging out together. We know they have a history together. You know, there's a quote where Trump says Epstein's a great guy, and he likes his women young, but hey, that's okay, nothing wrong with that. That's an actual quote from the early 2000s. So it's not like I don't think Trump ever really wanted to go after the Epstein thing. I don't think he ever was really that interested. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it was ever. I think he wanted to have the issue to run on, and he knew that the people who believed the conspiracies about the deep state and everything, he knew that they were by and large on his side, or at least saw him as the better of the two options. So he wanted their support. He wanted the support of us conspiracy guys and gals. So he cultivated that. I don't think he ever intended to really do much about it, if anything. But I don't think he wanted it to go down quite like it did. I think when he asked, what can I give you guys? You know, let's make a deal here. Maybe they said, okay, you can't go too hard on Ukraine. You gotta eventually. Maybe we'll let you take a stand for a little while with Ukraine, but eventually we've got to start funding you, giving Ukraine our missiles again and funding that war again. And maybe Trump said, okay, sure, whatever. And then they also said, and also the Epstein thing, you know, or maybe they just said, look, if you actually do become president, just know you've got to, you know, we're giving you a chance to win, and if you actually do win, just know you owe us big time, because we could kill you. We tried to kill you, and your head turned at the right time, at just the right moment, and yeah, you dodged a bullet there, literally, but we could take you out anytime we wanted to. We will keep coming at you over and over and over again, if you don't play ball with us. And Trump said, yeah, I know. I'm the one who said, let's make a deal here. I'm the deal maker. I'm the one who's all about the art of the deal. So they said, okay. And so, lo and behold, there was no election interference this time, and he actually won the election this time around, which he probably did in 2020, if there hadn't been interference. This is my opinion anyway. So, and now it's all come around again. Look, here's where I'll wrap this whole rambling discourse up. If you have looked into stuff that goes on involving high-level people and in government and industry, and their perversions and their predations, if you know what the Franklin scandal is, it slipped my mind there for a second. I was just trying to remember. If you know what the Franklin scandal is, if you don't know it, I suggest look it up. You look it up immediately if you have the heart, if you have the stomach for it, because it is bad. It is bad. It is as bad as Epstein. It is worse. It's probably worse than Epstein. And what you had going on with the Franklin scandal, and this was something that broke or almost broke in the early 90s, what you had going on there was a bunch of predatory stuff involving boys, and seemingly mostly Republicans. Okay, so you would think with something like that, a scandal like that implicate that if it were allowed to break, would have wrecked the Republican Party, because there were many high-level Republicans, including probably the man who was the sitting president at the time, who would have been exposed. And that's why it could not be exposed, and that's why there was such a heavy-handed, which you'll find out about. I'm not going to go into the details of all of it now, but if you read the sick, sad story of it all, you will come to the conclusion that there was an extraordinary effort made by the power structure to kick this thing into oblivion, to make sure that people that this isn't something that explodes into the public eye. And so they did, and it was easier to do that in the early 90s because there's no internet. But I mean, they went so far as to, there was going to be a special about this case that was going to be broadcast on, I can't remember if it was A&E or the Discovery Channel, but that whole thing got scotched. It had been made, it was going to be broadcast, and then the week that it was scheduled to broadcast, the special was advertised, or if you looked up, and those of you who were around in the pre-internet days will remember this, but for those of you who weren't, in order to find out when things were going on, like TV schedules and stuff, you would have to buy a TV guide, or maybe your local paper had an insert which would tell you, it was TV Week, where you would look up and it would tell you the local, what was all the channels and what was being broadcast on every channel at any given time. Well, the schedule had this examination of this scandal of this child predation scandal, exposing many high-level people. It was going to run I believe it was in 1994, and then they just, it was listed in the TV Week, and then it didn't run. These are extraordinary efforts being expended by really powerful people to tamp that thing down, right? And if you know, let's face it, if this is something that would expose mostly Republicans, you'd think the Democrats in power would want it to be exposed. But the what often gets called the liberal media, and I think it's more like the neoliberal media, the establishment media, they saw to it that this got clamped down. That they saw to it that this got quote unquote debunked, and the odious Washington Post took the lead on this. They had stuff in the pages of their paper saying, no, this isn't true. This is just wild conspiracy theory nonsense. That happened in 1994. That happened in the early 90s when all this stuff threatened to be made public. So if if your consciousness didn't start with if your consciousness of this kind of stuff happening didn't start with Epstein or with Pizzagate, and you became aware of other things stuff going on around the world, the various things in various countries, that one could point to. The Dutroux scandal in Belgium comes to mind. Also, there were there were spontaneous street demonstrations when this got exposed for a brief period of time. The Belgians, of all people, the Belgians, not known for their, the Belgians are no French. They're not known for getting all hot and bothered and getting out in the street and protesting stuff. But they were incensed. There was a grassroots movement. They were called the White Marches, I think, and they were absolutely furious at what was going on with their government and the protection of these high-level predators who were harming kids. So this is old news. This has been going on for a long time, and it's been going on well before Epstein. And the Epstein case is as disgusting and appalling as it is, it's probably less unsavory than a lot of the stuff, because we haven't heard anything about Epstein, which involved really little kids. It's mostly teenage girls, and don't get me wrong, that's bad, that's terrible, and I'm totally against it. But what got some of the things that got exposed with the Franklin scandal involved, first of all, it's mostly boys, and some of them were younger boys, and some of the abuse was more aggravated than most of what we've even heard about. Even what we've heard about with regard to Epstein and his predations and the predations of his of those who were on his quote unquote non-existent blackmail role, as they're trying to tell us now. So I ended up with a longer postscript to everything than I thought I would give, but this is what I think has happened with Trump, and why it's fallen out this way, and so it's depressing, it's sad, it's infuriating, but I'm not totally surprised, and I think this is how it all hangs together. This is how you could reconcile, but Trump was the elites all hated Trump, and they wanted him dead. Yes, I think they did. I think he represents something that they do not like in a lot of ways. They're pushing globalism. They're pushing, wars in foreign lands. They're pushing and mass immigration. They're pushing, so quote unquote free trade. And he is somebody who's taken a stand, and probably sincerely, for a lot of this stuff. The protecting the borders. It's not like that's a trivial matter. Has he done enough with the border? Probably not. Or with deportations? Probably not. But I mean, it's not like they've made it easy for him on that front. Anyway, but yeah, this is, he I think we need to be more realistic about the people who, I think anyone who runs and anybody who is allowed to win some major political appointment like the presidency, no matter how much of a maverick he seems to be, he is probably compromised. He's probably made a deal or many deals. If he's swimming with sharks, that means he's a shark too. He's probably, he's probably a predator himself. Let's face it. He probably is. He's probably done some stuff that we wouldn't like to know about. Or that we would like to know about. I'd like to know about it. I want them all to be exposed. I don't give a shit if they're Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. I want them all to be exposed. I want them all to be tried. And if found guilty, I want them all hanged. But that's not going to happen unless something much more radical happens. Right now, it's still the same gang doing the same old stuff. They're just reshuffling their deck a little bit. And there you have it. My thoughts on the matter. Where am I wrong? Am I wrong? Let me know.